Hey everybody, Derek Rydall here, founder of the Law of Emergence and author of the best-selling books Emergence and the Abundance Project. And I just wanted to talk today about a concept or a framework called Think, Learn, Do. And the basic idea here is that we've got so many things we think we need to know or learn in order to achieve success or achieve our goals. But there's really only three fundamental pillars: think, learn, and do. And if the education system would understand this, we'd have a better education system. We'd be educating people, not just for the present moment, although most education is really educating people for the past, but we'd be educating people for the future. And if you've been listening to me for a while, you know I've been talking a lot about AI and the advent of an AI era where AI is going to be able to do things cheaper, faster, better than most humans. And I, in fact, have a new book coming out in about a year, so that I talk about that much more in depth. But the key thing is that whether it's the coming advent of super intelligent AI, and especially as it becomes embodied in robotics, whether it's any crisis or challenge economically, politically, socially, the thing that has allowed us as humans to become the apex predators and to become, really to dominate the earth and to keep growing and innovating and progressing is our capacity to think, learn, and act, to think, learn, and do. And that's different. Yes, animals can do stuff, but they don't, and they even can learn to some degree, but their ability to learn is capped off by their lack of ability to think, about what they're thinking about, which is called metacognition. So they can't look at the landscape and really think it through and look at their own patterns and reactions to their situation, and usually as a reaction to their past and their programming. An animal can't look at their programming and then look at their surroundings and environment and go, what is really here versus what am I seeing through my programming? Animals can't do that except with metacognition, which we as humans do, which some might believe that is the deeper esoteric meaning of made in the image and likeness of God, meaning we are true creators. We have consciousness. We have consciousness of our consciousness. We are aware, but we are aware that we are aware, and that is different than other animals. So that allows us to think again, to think more deeply, to assess our own thinking, to question everything. And that allows us to learn beyond our history, to learn beyond our environment. That allows us even to predict beyond this present time and condition and space into the future, seeming future, which is always a fantasy, but it's a projection and a prediction based on past and present and based on our ability to think outside of our present conditions. All of these things we can do. And that's what allowed us to go from being in trees and on the savannah to eventually building cities and empires and monuments and technologies and continuing to progress. Now, some would argue the reason why we are in such a mess right now is we've stopped doing the things that got us here in the first place. We've stopped thinking. We've stopped thinking about our thinking or thinking about our stinking thinking. We've stopped learning. We've stopped really assessing what's not working, and instead of seeking to be right, which is an old primal survival mechanism, which all animals do, we need to learn how to expand our awareness and get back to questioning. I like to joke that children are happy and healthy and full of life, and adults are miserable and sick and dying because kids have only questions and adults have only answers. So that's a big part of this framework is in order to learn, we have to really think again, not just regurgitate the same 60,000 thoughts a day, the same old patterns and programmings that are comfortable, convenient, and familiar. We have to think again. To think again, we have to question all of our thinking. We have to question and look at our circumstances anew. And then finally, we have to have the courage to act on our new insights. Follow me. We have to be able to think and think again and think anew and think for the first time. That means asking questions. That means remaining curious. That means having a growth mindset, as Carol Dweck talked about. That means beyond our current conditions and our past experiences, beyond our present programming and perceptions, can we expand the aperture of our awareness to think outside of the map of our reality and identity? Can we look over the wall we've built to protect us and see what else is out there? Imagine, as Einstein said, imagination is better than or more powerful than knowledge. Knowledge keeps us stuck. Every answer is a wall. Every answer keeps you stuck. That doesn't mean we shouldn't have answers, but it's the question that is the quest you're on. It's the question that drives you forward. It's the question that gets you unstuck. It sends you on a quest. It takes you beyond the walls of the fortress you built for protection. It takes you outside of the matrix you built based on early family, childhood experiences that you are recapitulating, which is why the average person doesn't live 70 to 90 years. They live the same year 70 to 90 times, changing their clothing, changing their relationships, their jobs, their locations, and their underwear, hopefully. But it's the same story, different day. So you got to think again. And then by thinking again, you actually start to learn. And by learning to think, you learn to learn. And that's another reason where the education system has failed us. It's teaching us what to think, not how to think. It's teaching us what to learn. It's filling us with facts, but it's not teaching us how to learn, why learning is so important, and to have a passion for learning. It's teaching us how to not be wrong by giving us tests where you have to be right. It's not teaching us how to succeed in achieving our goals and solving novel problems by mastering the ability to think and think again and think outside the box and take action and learn and make a mess and iterate. And understand that all success is controlled failing, just like walking is controlled falling. And so education doesn't teach us how to fail with dignity, as Winston Churchill said. Success is the ability to go from one failure to the next without losing momentum or motivation. To succeed, you have to get good at failing. You have to get good at thinking, thinking again, learning, and you learn by taking action. You don't just learn by thinking. If you just think and you learn something, like I'm thinking, I'm reading a book, I'm listening to Derek right now, I've learned something. No, you haven't. You haven't learned anything unless you're living it. Knowledge is not power. Knowledge is just knowledge. It's nothing until it becomes action. Faith without works is dead. Information without action and activation becomes constipation. Worse, the truth sinks to the bottom and the information crowds everything out, and you tend to be more blind. The more that we light up our cities with neon signs, the blinder we become. The more we stare at blinking lights and screens, the blinder we become. Because we're not really thinking, and we're not really learning, because we're not taking action on what we know, learning from our action, iterating, because we're not using our ability to think deeply and to know ourselves, which is the primary objective of thinking, to know ourselves, to know our place in the world, to know ultimate reality. Know thyself, and to thine own self be true. Thinking, learning, and action. Thinking, learning, and doing. So those are the three master steps, right? The most fundamental wax on, wax off is know yourself, be yourself. And the thinking and the learning and the doing allow you to keep iteratively knowing yourself, and they allow you to keep iteratively being yourself. And when you can really know yourself and really be yourself, you are in integrity with all of nature. You are in integrity with all of the universe. And all of life now is for you, and nothing is against you. The only thing against you is the degree to which you don't know yourself and the degree to which you're not being yourself. You become a house divided, and a house divided cannot stand. It does not have structural integrity. So you got to know yourself. You got to know what you're made of and made for. You got to know what is that seed of purpose and potential planted in the soil of your soul. And then you have to have the courage and the commitment to be yourself, be yourself, be yourself, and learn, 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 and then think again, think again, think again. Think, learn, do. That is what every foundation of all education should be. That is the only thing you need to first and foremost master in order to lay the foundation for long-term success and ongoing growth in your life. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you want to learn more, check out my podcast, Emergence, at DerekRydall.com or at wherever podcasts, iTunes, etc. Go to DerekRydall.com, DerekRydall.com, and check out all the free trainings there. And you can also grab a copy of my book, Emergence, or The Abundance Project at Amazon or Barnes & Noble, wherever books are sold. Until next time, remember to live authentically, love unconditionally, and follow your destiny. Take care now.